Welcome back to the Monday Morning Point Guard podcast. On today's episode, just going to be doing some really quick play-in predictions with the play-in starting on Tuesday. I feel like it's kind of fun to just discuss the potential matchups here. We already have the West decided, but as of recording this, the East is still kind of up in the air. So just what teams do I see moving on into the playoffs proper? If you did enjoy the video, please be sure to like it as well as subscribe for weekly content. Also, the podcasts are now up on Spotify, so you can listen to the full episode uninterrupted there. And if there's a spot you agree with, disagree with, either reach out to us on Twitter or in that comment section, and we'd love to discuss with you. Just wanted to wrap up the week here with some quick play-in predictions. And just, man, am I so excited for this year's play-in and just the playoffs in general. It's shaping up to just be a real bloodbath on both sides of the bracket. I'm going to save the playoff preview / bracket predictions for next week after the play-in is already done. But I just wanted to make some quick predictions for the play-in games throughout that are happening throughout next week. So just as a quick refresher for the format to the play-in, since it is a bit confusing, it took me a while to kind of wrap my head around it. The 7th and 8th seeds are going to play one another to decide who is going to be the 7th seed. So the winner of that game becomes the 7th seed. And then the 9 and 10 seeds both play each other. The loser is eliminated, and the winner is going to play the loser of that 7-8 matchup, the winner of which that second game ends up becoming the 8th seed. I'm going to start out with the Western Conference predictions since the matchups are already set. As of recording this, the Eastern Conference is still kind of up in the air. So the 7th seed out of the West is going to be the Clippers versus the Minnesota Timberwolves for that 7-8 matchup. And as good as the Timberwolves have been this year, the Clippers are just really battle tested as a group in terms of having a lot of playoff experience. And they've been riding some serious momentum lately with the return of Paul George. They also got Norman Powell back. And there has been some rumors that we might see Kawhi Leonard back for the first round. So all signs kind of are kind of pointing their way, and all the momentum is kind of heading in their direction. It's just a really solid and well-coached team. And just the fact that they were able to kind of survive this season with just an onslaught of injuries and stay in the mix, it looks like they could be even relatively returning to full strength here just in time for the playoffs. I expect the Clippers are going to end up beating this up-and-coming Timberwolves team and end up capturing that 7th seed. And for a potential Grizzlies matchup in that 2-7 spot, that's a really tough place for the Grizzlies to be, because that if that Clippers team is at full strength, that's not really a 7th seed team. If they were at full strength for the whole year, they would have been competing at the top of the conference. So that would be a really tough draw for them in the first round. So in the 9-10 matchup out west, we have the Pelicans playing the Spurs. I'm taking the Pelicans in this matchup. They have shown themselves post the CJ McCollum trade to be just a really elite offensive team. And I think the Spurs just kind of fell into this 10th spot. It was a 10th spot out west that just no one seemed to want to take. So they just kind of happened to fall into it. It sure seems like to me. So I don't think I just don't think the Spurs are going to have enough firepower to keep up with the Pelicans, but who knows? A one game winner takes all type scenario with Greg Popovich. It's hard to bet against him in that type of scenario, but I just think the Pelicans are actually a pretty solid team here. They've shown themselves to be that post the All-Star break. So I expect that they're going to be moving on. That leaves the Pelicans and the Timberwolves fighting for that 8th and final playoff spot. And I'm actually going to take the Pelicans here. Scoring wise, it's just going to be tough for any team to keep pace with them. But they've also been really deceptively good defensively since the All-Star break. They're currently, since post the All-Star break, 8th in defensive rating. And that puts them just a shade behind the Golden State Warriors and just a shade ahead of the Philadelphia 76ers. And they're way ahead of a team like the Utah Jazz, who we think of as a pretty defensive team. Got a really high-powered offense with an effective defense. That sounds like a winning recipe, and that's what's ultimately going to get them to that 8th seed, in my opinion. And I don't expect the Pelicans to really challenge the Suns in that first round or potential first-round matchup between the 1 and 8. I would probably expect that to be a sweep. Maybe the Pelicans can steal one game, but I don't expect the Suns to be particularly challenged in that matchup. Out east, I mentioned that things are really up in the air here, but I'm going to try to make some predictions regardless of how the matchups end up shaking out. Just in general, I think I have the Nets as the seventh seed. They've really just had the year from hell this year. And now that they have both Kyrie and Kevin Durant back full time, I think they're going to be just fine. They also upgraded the roster with a guy like Andre Drummond. Hopefully, Seth Curry is able to come back from that ankle injury. But even if he isn't, just having Durant and Kyrie both back full time, that should be enough to put them in the playoffs proper. This is like the Clippers. If this had been a normal season for them, they would have been a much higher seed than the seventh spot or the eighth spot, wherever they end up falling. And they're a lot better with Durant and Kyrie back full time than their record is going to show. Then the team I have in that final spot in the East, that eighth spot, is going to be the Atlanta Hawks. And for them, it's been a really disappointing year given what they accomplished last season, but it's still a really talented group. I think in a potential matchup with the Hornets, I think scoring battle wise, they can kind of outduel the Hornets or just have enough defensively to kind of eke out a win against them if the Hornets are hot. And then the Cleveland Cavaliers have been totally neutered by injuries here down the stretch of this season. So I think ultimately the Hawks are going to be the team to make it out of the play-in. The Hornets, whoever they match up with, whether it be the Nets or the Hawks in this case, I just don't think that they're quite there. They don't quite have enough defense, and with no interior presence defensively, they're just going to have a really tough time stopping anyone in the postseason. And as I mentioned with the Cavs, they've just been completely destroyed by injuries down the stretch. Even if Mobley and Allen are able to come back, they're likely not going to be 100%, or even if they are at 100%, at least in the case of Jared Allen, he's probably going to be a little bit rusty. And that's not even to mention the fact that they lost Colin Sexton pretty early into the season. Still a lot to be proud of for Cavs fans, and they have a really bright future ahead of them. But and obviously, if the Hawks and the Nets end up matched up in that 9 to 10 spot, both can't make it into the playoffs. So I guess I would take the Cavs in that scenario to move on. But I think most likely it's going to be the Hawks and the Nets. So in summary here, I'm taking the Clippers as the seventh seed out west, Pelicans as the eighth, and then Nets as the seventh seed and Hawks as the eighth seed in the East. And I think regardless of how this play-in plays out, we're going to have a couple of really good games for the play-in, and then it's going to be setting us up for one of the best playoffs in recent memory.